Hello YouTube, Irish Bear 76 here, coming to you on April 15th, the day after the open forum online. MSGirlonline Maria did a 3-part video series on what they said. Basically, she did a good job on that. I'm just going to hit some key points during the open forum, some things that stood out to me as big points. Dr. Miller, boy, he just went up and talked about drugs, and more drugs, how drugs have proven to be effective, and efficacy's been established on drugs, and how it hasn't really been established on the liberation procedure due to the small size or whatever. Big time excitement is in the air. I mean, he wasn't totally a naysayer. He did say that the liberation procedure warrants more research, which Dr. Zamboni has said since the beginning. Dr. Zamboni, I thought he was a class act. He said basically, some of the, he wanted to make clear, like things that YouTubers say, MS patients and things, a lot of times people get their information from me or other people, and a lot of times the stuff that I say are things that I think. They're like, for example, there's been absolutely no talk about shunts or vein grafting to replace the vein in the future. But that's me looking ahead, me thinking, man, if I was in this field of vascular intervention, that would be something I'd be looking for. What I'm basically doing also is putting stuff out there into the collective consciousness. I'm putting stuff out there for maybe someone to pick up on and take it further. I have a knowledge of the human body. I research MS obsessively, but just because I say something, please don't take it as gospel. And Dr. Zamboni kind of said that. He's like, listen more to me than bloggers, basically to the people that critique him. Because all he has said so far is that venoplasty is safe and effective from his study, that he doesn't think stenting is a good idea right now because it hasn't been proven to be safe. Dr. Michael Dake at Stanford was doing some stenting and some studies on that, and then they had the migrating stent where they had to do open heart. The guy lived, but then they'd had somebody after, long after the liberation procedure, but they were still on the anticoagulant therapy to keep from blood clotting. They died. So Stanford, because the university's nasal there, got nervous and pulled it. So that's why there's not stents. He's not saying stents may not be something in the future. Now this is me speaking for Zamboni. Dr. Zamboni is saying right now there's not enough empirical data or whatever. I think from what I get from Dr. Zamboni, and this is me speaking, not Dr. Zamboni, is that his research is with doing the venogram to find it, and that's how he finds 100%, is to do the catheter, the interventional venogram. And Dr. Zavadinov, and that's another thing I wanted to highlight, Dr. Zavadinov, and you might not have caught this, but Avis Favreau, or however you say her name, she asked the question, what were you talking about when you said there were difficulties during your trial? And that's when Zavadinov had to come out and say, I'm glad you asked that, because in the midst of our trial, we figured out that the reason why Dr. Zamboni was finding more than we were is because he was using this gold standard venogram. And the methodology they weren't using. So basically, that whole Buffalo study, you can throw out. Because it's not. And that's what, these people who are talking about, well, I'm going to be pragmatic. I saw Rebecca Cooney with MS Liberation, Canada. She was on TV, and there was this, she was promoting the liberation procedure, saying, look, for people who have secondary progressive, primary progressive, where there's really no medication intervention, why can't we have this? And there was a guy with MS that said he was a pragmatist, that he was being pragmatic. Well, do you don't think that I'm being pragmatic when I support Dr. Zamboni? First and foremost, it's not Dr. Zamboni's fault that his pilot study can't get an official scientific study done, okay? It's not his fault that Simca didn't use a control group in Poland. He's basically, Dr. Zamboni's doing the right thing. He's saying only use venoplasty till we can establish the safety of stents. However, okay, in order to establish the safety of stents, we have to actually do some stent intervention. So the only thing we have to really look at is the people in Europe that are doing the stents and seeing what their success ratio is. So that's where the registry comes in. If you go and you fly across the pond and you get some stuff done, liberation-wise, please talk to your neurologist afterward and say, look, I know I did it against your advice, or maybe he knew or she knew, but we have to watch your progress. There was a lot of talk on like placebo effect and things like that, and I'm going to use a book that I've read called The Holographic Universe on the placebo effect. I have always said your mind controls a lot of your body, and if you think something's helpful, it will be. Placebo effect is a real thing, and it's not being weak-minded actually. It's actually having strength of mind when you have the placebo effect, because it means that if you have enough faith and hope in something, you can make real dramatic changes. And when I talked about the Holographic Universe book, that's what I'm going to use as my source. He mentioned a couple people who had cancer that believed in that they were getting this medication or whatever therapy, and they believed so much that it would work that their cancer disappeared. And then when they so I mean, the human mind is very, very powerful, and it can make things happen. I must tell you that with my multiple sclerosis, since my attitude's been more positive, my symptoms have been less. So put that, on file somewhere. So you're going to see placebo effect. It's just part of when you do a blind thing. So how we have to do a blind study on the liberation procedure is you basically have two groups. One that they just go in with through the groin and everything. They just don't blow up the balloon, pull out, and then they monitor them for months. Then they're the placebo group, and then you have the group where you actually inflate the balloon, and then you monitor their progress. So that's what they're talking about. And it's not Dr. Zamboni's fault. Dr. Zamboni, and we bloggers do speak for Dr. Zamboni a lot. I mean, kind of in a roundabout way. But just to clarify, all he has said is stents are not safe at this time. They need more study. That he believes CCSVI to be a causational link to MS. He's a big advocate of getting the venoplasty done now, sooner rather than later, because it's safe and because in his opinion, from his pilot study, it was an effective treatment. Why not get it out there? Why not just do it and then follow the progress of these people? And he advocated for patients' rights on people who have done all the drug therapies and who have failed on the medications, or that are secondary progressive or primary progressive to where there's really no medical intervention for them, on the grounds of compassion. Please look into giving them this, just to see, as a last-ditch effort. As we know, it doesn't cure MS, but it does point toward being something that'll stop it. So just some quick points, and my video's over. Have a good day. God bless. Bye.